you can play in any chapter that you want. So you get to meet people from anywhere.
Jody, what's up tonight, buddy? How are you doing?
I'm good, Matt. Where are you this evening?
I'm hiding out in a cool place. We've been on the road to Tullamore. Apologize for being late. Chris and I were actually hung up. A little shout out to Ben Sermons. He's the Packers running back coach. Ran into him today, so we were talking football and sports and golf, and he's a huge golfer, and so we've been hanging out with him for the last couple hours. But promise you guys, the wait will be worth it tonight. So it is finally time to talk about the North American Championship, the second edition. Are you absolutely excited?
Always excited to talk about my hometown of Nashville, and I know the anticipation has been growing from our members wanting to find out what we've got lined up, where we're going to be playing this thing, what kind of special events we have, all of that. So it's going to be my pleasure to welcome in a special guest to talk a little bit about Nashville and help me let everybody know what a great place it is.
Yeah, definitely. This night's been probably the most anticipated that we've had for a while since, we were announcing 2 new chapters every other day, it seemed like last year. This is a good one. People have been asking us for goodness since last June. Where's the 22 national championship? Where's the North American Championship going to be in 2022? And then, obviously at Pinehurst we released that it'd be in Nashville. And tonight we get to talk about it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's it's one of those deals where we've had kind of a plan on how we wanted to do things from a business standpoint. Certainly, Pinehurst was just an incredible location to host a North American Championship from a golf standpoint. And again, knowing that came with a price tag that was difficult for some people to be able to afford. We get to scale it back a little bit this year, hosted in a location that we know is going to be an absolute blast for everybody to come and visit, with some great golf, but at a lower price point without some of the requirements that we had in Pinehurst. So it'll be a different North American Championship, but I think it's going to be every bit as exciting with the same level of high quality of play. And we're going to get, 5 more fantastic champions to add to the list.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just really exciting to just think about. Like you said, it's going to be nice to be able to provide the championship at a lower price point. The lodging, there's no lodging requirement. And so those of you guys that want to rent Airbnb houses to experience Nashville, you can do that. It's going to be great. The events outside of the championship in Nashville are going to be really, really fun. We've got a huge show in store tonight. We've got a special guest with us that we'll bring on here in a little bit to properly introduce your hometown.
Yeah. Special guest, friend of mine, longtime friend of mine. And I don't know if we want to do a quick break first and then come back and do that. Nope. Master Control says all gas, no brakes.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm sure that's not what our sponsors want to say, but let's go with it.
We'll go straight into it. We've got limited time with this guest anyway because he's a busy man. So it's my pleasure to introduce to APT Live with us singer, songwriter, music mogul. I probably should just say media mogul now with all the different things that he's got going on in the entertainment business. But let's go ahead and bring on my good friend, John Rich from country music duo Big and Rich. How you doing, buddy?
Jody, I'm good. How you doing, fellas? Good to join you tonight.
Man, so glad that you were able to take a few minutes away from your schedule. I know you're at the house there at Mount Richmore doing some filming for your show, and appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us.
Well, you bet. Listen, I'm first of all, Jody, for y'all want to know about my friendship with Jody Barrett. There's another guy watching tonight named Marcus Peters. My senior year of high school, I found myself in a brand new school in Dixon County High School. And in the senior class, there was about 600+ plus kids just in the senior class. From the schools I'd been going to, the biggest class I'd ever been in probably had 18 to 20 kids. So I walked in this gigantic place. My last year of high school, I did not know anybody. I didn't know where my locker was. I didn't know who my teachers were. I didn't know where I was supposed to go, where I'm supposed to park, nothing. I had this terrible pit in my stomach going, this is the worst thing, right, that ever happened. It's going to be the worst year of my life. I don't know anybody. And I walk in, and one of the first people that I meet, Jody Barrett. And Jody Barrett says, hey, man, nice to meet you. What's your name? He was so nice to me and introduced me to Marcus. And little by little, I started to gain some friends in Dixon. And honestly, it wound up being maybe the greatest year I had as a student, as a kid in school, and created friendships that are still alive and well today, which is why I'm on with you, Jody. And I got to tell you, man, you've always been a mover and a shaker. You've always been somebody that had a good time, but was serious about what you were doing. You're an attorney now. You're a smart guy. You probably get people into trouble and out of trouble, depending on what side of the desk you're on. But, man, I could not be more proud of you and your success and what you guys are doing with this event, and I'm excited to have it coming to Nashville.
Well, man, I still love to laugh and joke and tell the story of me walking up to you and saying, hey, so I hear you're a singer. I've got a band. Maybe you want to try out and sing for us sometime. Hindsight being 2020, that was probably pretty stupid on my part.
No, you know what it was? It was kind. It was a kind thing to say, because you didn't know me from, as we would say in the country, from Adam's house cat. You did not know me. I did not know you. You had no reason to be nice to me, but you were nice to me. And honestly, it helped me move into that really, really radical year that I was having at 17, 18 years old. And, you don't forget that. You don't forget friendships like that. I mean, those are the things that when you look back over your life and you go, who are the people that counted when things got tough? Who counted? I'm sure we can all think of people in our lives. And you guys, you and Marcus, Kyle Staranka, our little buddy, Kyle, you guys became my friends. Lee Duke, some of the Duke boys over there. Listen, that was kind of a ragtag group of people, but you guys wound up being my brothers, being my friends, and helping me get through a really tough year, and I'll never forget it. And that's why we're friends today. That's why I'm on this Zoom, and it's why I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I want to support it any which way I can. So what's it going to be like, Jody, when everybody shows up to Nashville? I mean, what do you expect is going to happen?
Well, we're going to have between 600 and 700 golfers from coast to coast, and probably including some of our friends up in Canada who are going to come down and qualify for this thing. And, we're just going to have a gigantic party for about 4 or 5 days in Music City and play some competitive golf. And when it's all said and done, crown some North American champions that'll forever be minted in the history books with the Amateur Players Tour. So it's going to be a great time. And I want to talk about Nashville with you. And, you've got some business propositions going on in downtown that I want to get to as well. But, you mentioned high school and shortly after that, after graduation, Marcus and I went off to college and just did the whole student thing. And you jumped right in, man, to the music industry. You never made any bones about it, what you wanted to do, and that you were going to be successful. You absolutely insisted that was, failure was not an option. And so tell everybody a little bit of just a quick version of how you got into the music business, where you started, and how you ended up with Big and Rich.
Well, so we mentioned our good friend Marcus Peters, and I remember I was actually staying the night at his house a couple of nights, and that's kind of how my senior year worked. Is I would have a friend here or a friend there, because I was driving. You asked, well, why did you have to stay overnight with somebody? Because I lived in Aspen City, Tennessee, and the school's in Dixon, Tennessee, and so it was a really long drive back and forth every single day. And so I had friends like Marcus that would say, hey, man, you don't need to make that drive. Stay at my house, right? So I'd stay at Marcus's house from time to time. And Marcus, he goes, hey, John, check this out. And he picks up the Tennessean, which is our newspaper here. He goes, look at this. Opryland is having auditions. I said, well, that's great. He goes, well, you should audition for that. And I said, hell no, I ain't auditioning for that. And he goes, why not? And I said, man, you got to be able to dance and act and do all these. I said, I can't do that. I'll just sing country music. He goes, well, you know, there's going to be a bunch of good looking girls there. I said, well, that is true. That is true. He said, you should go, man. Just if for no other reason, just go for that reason. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I got in my 1971 baby blue Dodge Dart Swinger, which I still have, Jody, by the way. It's out in my garage here outside the house. And I drove down there from Marcus's persuasion for me to do it. I auditioned for Opryland USA, our theme park that I wish to God was still here. I thought I didn't have a chance in the world. I sang a Clint Black song. And what do you know? They called back and they said, hey, you're pretty good. Come back and do the call back. So I came back the second time. I sang again. They said, you're hired. So halfway through my senior year, I knew I had a job at Opryland USA. And I said, well, how much money am I going to be making? Right? That's the first question. They said, man, I tell you what, when it's all said and done, you're probably going to make about $320 a week. I went, holy cow, what? I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm going to do what? I'm going to make all this money? And they said, yeah, $300+ a week. I said, God almighty, forget college. I'm just going to go sing country music. So that led to me meeting some guys that had also been working at Opryland from Texas, which is where I'm from originally. And they said, hey, John, you want to be in a band? We're all from Texas, you know, let's try that. And I said, sure, let's try it. I went out with those guys. I never looked back. That band wound up becoming Lone Star, which we went on to sell about 6 or 7 million records. That's where I wrote my first hit songs. And from that, one thing led to another. A lot of disappointments, I'll be honest, in the music industry. Lone Star kicked me out. I thought everything was over. I started writing even more songs. Then I meet this crazy guy named Big Kenny in a bar one night in Nashville. And he goes, we ought to write a song together. I said, yeah, let's do it, you crazy you know what. And we sat down and wrote a song together. And that turned into Big and Rich. And it's just been one thing after another. But the thing I've learned, Jody, and I think this applies to everybody, whether you're a musician like me, or you do what you do, or if you like to play golf, or whatever it is you like to do in your life. One thing to remember, America is the only country in the history of countries that has given its people the right to pursue happiness. Not the right to be happy, the right to pursue it, the right to exhaust your potential, the right to be everything you can be. There's no guarantee you're going to get your American dream, but you do have the right to go after it. And so I think when I see people in this country that really go after it, no matter where they came from, they know that the beginning does not define the ending. The ending is defined by their work ethic, by their ability to go forward, their ability to absorb defeat, their ability to come back and continue going down that road on the path that they know God laid out before them. Those are the ones, those are the people that move and shake. Those are the people that inspire me. And Jody, you're one of those people. So is Marcus. I think the people that are probably watching this right now, they've got aspirations, they've got dreams, they got things they want to do too. And they like to hit golf balls, right? Well, if you like to hit golf balls, and by God, hit yourself some golf balls. And the best place to hit golf balls is Music City, USA. And I will tell you, there's a little tagline that goes to Music City, USA. They say, Nashville is a drinking town with a music problem. So all you golfers out there, be ready. Take your vitamins, drink plenty of water, take a nap when you need to, because Nashville will absolutely wear you out. There is more live music per square foot in Nashville, Tennessee than any other city on the face of this planet. That's a fact. More talent per square inch. So when you come to Nashville and you're going to hit your golf balls and have some fun, when you come downtown and you see what we've got to offer down there, it's going to absolutely blow your mind. Am I right, Jody?
100%. I mean, there's no way to come to Nashville and not have a good time. If you do, if you come to Nashville and you don't have a good time, that's a you problem. 100%. Yeah, right. So that kind of segues into the next little segment I'll lead into here. I'm instituting a new segment here with the APT Live, John. You're the first one to do this. We're going to call it 3-Putt with John Rich. So I'm going to ask you to name your top 3 favorite things in a couple of different categories here, since we're talking about Nashville. So we're going to start off and tell me your top 3 favorite music venues in Nashville.
My top 3 music venues. So places I would hang out is basically what you're asking me.
That's right. Where would you want to go to see a show?
Where would I go? Okay, let's see. Well, I guess the number one place to ever see a show would be the Grand Ole Opry. Come on, you ain't gonna beat the Grand Ole. That's numero uno. And if you're lucky enough that they're doing Grand Ole Opry shows at the Ryman Auditorium, which is downtown, that's the original Grand Ole Opry, 4th and Broadway right there. If you're lucky enough that that's going on when you guys are in town, you have got to go to that. I mean, back in the Great Depression, the Ryman Auditorium, that's when that kicked off. It was an old Methodist church, and they started playing bluegrass and mountain music and some country music way back in the day and broadcasted over AM 650. That's where the Grand Ole Opry started. So if you get a chance to go to the Ryman and they have a Grand Ole Opry, that's the ultimate touchdown. If they're not having a Grand Ole Opry while you guys are in town, still go to the Ryman and walk through that place. Honestly, that is the reason country music exists. That's the first place it was ever called country music. So make sure you go there. That'd be number one. Number 2, I'd say you got to go to my bar, Jody. You got to go to the Redneck Riviera, which is at 3rd and Broadway. I'm right on the strip. This is Broadway. This is 3rd. It goes boop, just like that. You go down there and check it out. And if you're a veteran or an active duty service member or a first responder, and you walk into the Redneck Riviera, the first bar that you will see is called the Heroes Bar. And at the Heroes Bar, first drinks on the house for any of our vets, any of our active duty, any of our first responders. You'll see military coins spread out down that bar. You'll see police and fire patches from all over the United States. We have, I think at this point, thousands of patches that have come in. When people visit the bar, they bring their patches in. We put it on the wall. We love our vets. We love our active duty. And we know that those men and women are the ones that truly keep this country safe, that keep this country going, that protect our freedoms. So we roll out the red carpet. So if you're a vet or active duty and you come to hit a golf ball or a first responder, you hit a golf ball with Jody and the boys, make sure you come to Redneck Riviera and we'll roll the carpet out. My 3rd place, I guess my last place, man, there's a place called Robert's Western World. Robert's Western World. Now, if I'm down on Broadway and I go to Redneck Riviera and I hang out for a while and I still got a little more energy and I want to go somewhere else, I go to Robert's Western World. So this place is a boot store during the day. You can literally go in and buy yourself a pair of boots. But at night, about 6 o'clock, it shifts into a full-blown Nashville honky-tonk. Still can buy a pair of boots if you want, but they start cooking hamburgers and hot dogs. And some of the greatest talent and bands I've ever heard in my life play at Robert's Western World. You can sit there all night long and watch this great music and sit in a boot store, basically. It's one of the coolest places I've ever seen. That'd be my 1, 2, 3, Jody.
All right. So I'll add 3 Bs. The Station Inn's one of my favorite places in the world to go to. So definitely if you're into acoustic music and a little low-key, really intimate setting, go to the Station Inn, catch a show down there.
Yeah, I love it. Love old man music. And now that you are an old man, I mean, that is the place for you. No, you're right. I mean, it's the best bluegrass in town.
Absolutely.
Do you feel old, Jody? Because you look good. I'm just going to say it right now. You look good, my man.
I look and feel good until I get up in the morning. Then I'm reminded every day that I am 48. All right, I'll do 3 more for you. You've already named your bar though, so you can't. We've got to take Redneck Riviera. It beats number 1. It's like 0. So top 3 bars that you would go and hang out at in downtown Nashville.
There's one called Legends Corner, which is actually it borders the Ryman Auditorium. And what's cool about that is Legends Corner, one of the oldest bars in Nashville. But if you go to the back of the bar and you walk out the back door, there's an alley, and it smells like beer. I'll be honest with you. It smells like beer and other things, whatever you think that might be. And you walk across this little 10-foot alley, and guess the next door that you see is the backstage entrance to the Ryman Auditorium. And so that's where all the old country singers, Hank Sr., Patsy Cline, all of them, when they would be in between their performances at the Ryman, they would walk down and walk into Legends Corner, have a cocktail, hang out with their friends, maybe smoke a cigar or something, and they walk right back in to the Ryman. So I'd say Legends Corner, definitely. There's actually a bar. It's not a straight ahead country bar, but I think it's one of the coolest places in town. There's an artist named Gavin DeGraw, and Jody, you probably know who that is. Gavin DeGraw, incredible on the piano. I don't want to be anything other than what I've been supposed to have been lately. That guy, he's great.
Right.
So he's got a bar called the Nashville Underground. So that's down First Avenue and Broadway. It's almost to the river, and this place is massive. I'm talking like 4 levels, giant rooftop bar, and half the time you'll see Gavin down there jumping up on the keyboards and playing. I would say Nashville Underground's a place you guys want to definitely go. And then if you're looking for some really good food down there that has a great atmosphere, Jack's Barbecue. Go to Jack's Barbecue. These guys, first of all, who doesn't like the smell of barbecue? I've always said there should be a cologne for country boys that smells like that restaurant. That's what I think. I think Cindy Baggett could not turn that down, right, Marcus? We'll see. I don't know, but you going to Jack's Barbecue, get yourself one of them sandwiches. It's just falling out. I think Guy Fieri went there a while back. One of the best spots to eat in Nashville. The point is, guys, I think Jody and the boys made a great call by bringing this to Nashville. This is arguably the hottest environment, hottest town in the United States of America. It's loaded with patriots. It's loaded with hard-working, hard-playing people. Music everywhere, good food everywhere. And I just think it's the greatest town in the United States.
Well, I certainly agree. It's been a great place to live, grow up, and raise my family, and glad to have my best friends all still living here too. So, getting back to what you're doing, you kind of touched on some of what you're into these days with what you just came away from earlier before jumping on with us. So why don't you tell everybody about the Pursuit and what you're doing with your show and where they can find it?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I have a show on Fox Business Network, which I find to be so ironic, Jody, because I have a high school diploma from Dixon County High School. I grew up in a double-wide trailer in Texas, and that's it. That's my pedigree. Nothing fancy going on with me. So to have my own show on the largest business network on television is quite a shock, trust me, to me. But this show is called The Pursuit. It's a concept that I came up with. And I said, you know what? How about we don't talk about politics for a while? There's a novel concept. I think we'd all appreciate that. Let's talk about people's pursuit of happiness in America. Let's sit down the most impressive, hard-charging people we can come up with. Let's sit them down for an hour and really learn their story. So I've had everybody from Eddie George to Richard Petty of NASCAR fame, right? I've had just these icons of their genres, of their sports, sit down with me. I had Michael W. Smith here with me today, one of the greatest Christian singers of all time. Eddie Montgomery was sitting down with me today. Johnny Damon, the World Series champion, Yankees and Red Sox. All 3 of those guys with me today. And I sat down and I asked them questions about their story. How did you start off? What'd you run into? How did it wind up? What are you doing today? Tell me about how much America means to you. That's what the show's all about. It's a simple concept, but it's a powerful, powerful conversation. And my hope is that it reminds people that live in this country how much opportunity they actually have from the sheer fact that they were born in this country and they live in this country. We have such an advantage on the rest of the world that we have the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's incumbent upon us to take advantage of those things. And so I sit down and I have those conversations. It's on Fox Business every single Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Reruns on the weekends. It plays over and over and over. And 20 new episodes going to hit the beginning of April. So I'm excited about it. It's not something I ever thought I would do, but I got to tell you, I love doing it, and I hope you guys tune in.
Well, I've been just so impressed with the work that you've done. I've watched your episodes. Loved what you and Mike Rowe recently did together. You know, getting you two Patriots together for a show and all the stories that you guys worked on and writing a song together too. I mean, that was fun to watch for me as a friend of yours, knowing how much. How sincere you are about your belief in this country and the working men and women. It was truly cool for me to watch you be able to have that experience. That was great.
Yeah, that was a silly little song that we wrote called Santa Claus Got a Dirty Job. It goes like this. Santa Claus got a dirty job. Santa Claus got a dirty job. Santa Claus got a dirty job, and he does it all night long. So Mike Rowe and I sit down, and I'm interviewing Mike, and I said, "Hey, Mike, you know somebody that's got a dirty job I bet you never thought about?" He said, "Who's that?" I said, "Santa Claus." And he goes, "You know what? You're right. Think about what's hitting him in the face all night long behind these 9 reindeer. Go, we gotta go, right?" And he said, "Oh, that's not." I said, "Yeah, and the chimneys, for God's sake, the chimneys." He goes, "Oh, it's disgusting. What a job." I said, "Yeah, Santa's got a dirty job." And so I wrote this little chorus that I just sang for you guys, and I told Mike. Mike's actually a really good singer. Mike Rowe, people don't know, he sang opera for like 15 years back in the 80s and early 90s. I said, "Mike, you ought to come to Nashville and let's record this thing just for fun, you know." And he goes, "Well, I'm actually going to be in Nashville in a couple of weeks." Like, perfect. So he came in, and I booked the studio, booked a band, and we tracked the song, recorded it. And the song, Jody, check this out, goes #1
Yep.
on the sales chart. On the sales chart. That's the real one. That's the one where people are buying it. Across genre, not country. We knocked Adele out of the #1 spot for 3 weeks with Santa's Got a Dirty Job. So it was a pretty cool thing. And that money, anything that came in on those downloads, went to charity. So one thing that I support with Redneck Riviera whiskey, with my bar, everything that I'm doing with that brand, is called the Folds of Honor. And Folds of Honor is a group that puts kids through college who lost a parent in combat. And I know it's a practice for all of us watching that when we see an active duty military personnel or a veteran, we walk up and say, "Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for your service, ma'am." We always do that, and we always should do that. But to me, there had to be a next level of how to say thank you. So Folds of Honor puts kids through college who lost a parent in combat. Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine that? You're a kid, your mom or your dad loses their life fighting for this country, fighting for our freedoms, fighting for our right to pursue happiness. So what's the ultimate way to say thank you for your service? As a dad myself, Jody, you're a dad. We're all dads. The #1 thing you'd ever tell me would be, "John, if something happens to you, what would you like me to do?" I would say, "Look after my family if you can." That's what I would say. I think any dad, any mom would say that. That's what Folds of Honor is doing. So as of this last December, Jody, Redneck Riviera Products have now given over $1 million back to the Folds of Honor in the past 3 years. Very short period of time. And we continue to grow and continue to build that. And that's something I'm really proud of. And I think that's significant. I think there's a difference between success and significance. I really do. That's
No
two
doubt.
things. That's 2 things. And I'm more focused on significance at this point. I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to share with them any way I can help them with what God's blessed me with. And I think what you're doing with these golf tournaments and everything that you're doing, you know what, Jody, you're bringing great people together, like-minded people together. You're putting them in great spots where they can do what they love to do, meet each other, create new friendships, and do great things together. So it's been an honor to be on this Zoom with you guys.
Well, man, you're a true patriot, and you're one of the few people in this world that absolutely 100% walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Everything that comes out of your mouth is genuine, and you are willing to stand behind it 1,000%. So for that, I mean, even as your friend, I know I'm biased, but I appreciate you and everything that you do, everything you stand for. appreciate all the charitable work you've done. I'm going to leave and close this thing out with one last question that ties into your charitable work. A lot of people may not know or remember that you won the Celebrity Apprentice with President Trump before he was President Trump. What was that, 2011, I think it was? And in the course of that show, you raised some crazy amount of money for St. Jude. You probably remember the number exactly right off the top of your head, but give us a little inside baseball, some tidbit from your experience with filming that show and being on that show.
Well, my first question for you, Jody, would be, are you currently or have you ever worked for the FBI?
No, that is a negative, Ghost Rider.
Because you're asking me questions about our president or former president. And I think we all know now that the FBI just absolutely whacked this guy, right? I mean, we all know that's a fact. So I just want to make sure, before I give you any inside information, Jody, that you're not currently working for the CIA or the FBI. No?
Well, I've not put you under oath, so you're good to go.
Wow, I'm shocked by that because, most attorneys would have put me under oath by now. So that was a crazy show. I did not want to do that show. They came to me 3 years in a row to be on the show. And I said, listen, guys, I'm a fan of the show, but I don't know what you're doing to people on that show, but they lose their ever-loving minds on that show. I'm friends with Clint Black, and Clint Black is an easygoing, very even-tempered guy. And I said, Clint Black lost his mind. I mean, Clint Black is on there trying to fight Dennis Rodman. He's going, I'm going to knock you out, Dennis. I mean, what are you doing to Clint Black? Like, what's happening? I don't know what you're doing, but I don't want any part of that. I mean, that's crazy. Well, it came around the fourth time, and these New York guys come to my house here in Nashville. They sat down. They said, John, you really need to do the show. Mr. Trump wants you to do the show. I said, I don't care who wants me to do the show. I ain't doing the show. They said, John, pick the charity you want to work for. Just work for the charity, whatever. If you hate it, leave, but at least you put your charity. I said, okay. Well, that's a good point. I said, you know what? I'd play for the kids at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And the reason I would do that is because, honestly, it's the greatest children's hospital in the world. They not only help the kids that come there, they never charge them anything. But if they come up with a new way to treat cancer, which, by the way, we all know this, but cancer is constantly turning into new versions of itself. It's the nastiest thing ever. And St. Jude will apply pretty much experimental procedures to cancers they've never seen before. And when they find one that works, they don't keep it to themselves. They don't charge money for that intel. They just upload it to the internet, and every hospital in the world knows the same thing that they've learned in Memphis, Tennessee. I just think that's the greatest way to do that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go do it. I'll go do Celebrity Apprentice. Here we go. And I walk in there, and who do I see? Meatloaf, Gary Busey, Lil Jon, Star Jones, Nene Leakes. I mean, you're talking about some of the most professional, crazy people that have ever existed.
Jose
Canseco. Yeah, I mean, all these people, I'm going, oh my word, what have I walked into, right? Okay. Okay, we got to figure it out. I'm in now. I'm up in New York. What am I going to do? So I get into this show, and one thing I learned about Trump, I was sitting there at the boardroom. Everybody's stretched out, and he's sitting across the other side of the table. And I noticed every time he would talk to somebody across the table, he would lean in like this. And let's say it was Meatloaf, okay? Donald Trump would say, he would lean. He's big, first of all. His head's like this big. His body is like this. He's this giant guy. And he would lean across the table, Jody, and he would go, so Meatloaf, what did you think about the project? Whatever. Like, he'd lean in like that. And guess what? Anybody he would do that to would go like this. Well, Mr. Trump, they're just trying to get the hell away from this guy. It's like, well, because he's just pushing into them like this. I went, oh, that's interesting. That's like his tactic, right? That's his intimidation tactic. And it works, by the way. Okay. Well, he's going to do that to me at some point. I ain't leaning back when he does it to me. Well, a few weeks go by, and it comes my turn. And he goes, so, John Rich, how was Gary Busey as your project manager? Like that. And I'll be honest with you guys, I wanted to go, well, Mr. Trump, I wanted to do that, but I didn't. I leaned into him and I said, well, Mr. Trump, he's the nicest bunch of guys I've ever met. And he went back, he went, that's a big statement, Gary. That's a big statement. Gary, I mean, you're really talented, Gary. Really talented, right? But Gary, you're kind of crazy, right? It's kind of crazy, right? It's a big statement. Big statement. Big statement.
You got it down.
Yeah. So I went, okay. And so I think at that point I got on the man's radar. Towards the end of the show, it came down to me and one other person, Marlee Matlin, who is an Academy Award winning actress. She's deaf. She's incredibly talented. She raised over $1 million. I raised 1.4 when it was all said and done. But at this point, she had raised right at $1 million. It's a big deal. And we had one last thing to do. And of course, it was a fundraising task. And I had nobody else to call. Jody, I had money come in, everybody from Bon Jovi to Rush Limbaugh. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had the hardest left and the hardest right sending money in for St. Jude, backing me up because they want to see me win. It was an incredible effort by everybody, but I'd tapped everybody out. So I'm sitting there with Lil John. He's the last guy working with me. And I said, man, I've tapped everybody out. I said, but you know what, John? There's one last person, probably the richest guy I know. I haven't even called yet. He goes, who's that? I said, Donald Trump. He goes, huh? I said, with the gold teeth, of course. Huh? What? Yeah. Right. And I said, he said, what are you talking about? I said, I haven't called Donald Trump. So I'm sitting there at Trump Tower. I pick up the phone and I hit 0. Put the phone up. The office of Donald Trump. I said, yes, ma'am. It's John Rich. Can I speak to Donald Trump? One moment, please. I went, okay, well, see what happens. Then another girl, Donald Trump's office, Matt Director call. I said, yeah, John Rich to talk to Donald Trump. One moment, please. And the next time the phone comes up, John Rich, it's Donald Trump. How can I help you? Here we go. I said, well, Mr. Trump, I'm trying to win your show for the kids at St. Jude Children's Hospital. You're the richest guy I know. And I've asked everybody I know for money except for you. So I'm asking you for a $100,000 donation to the kids at St. Jude. Right? And he goes, look, you want to know what he said, Jody? Here's what he said, verbatim. You ready? Put on your seatbelts, kids. Look at the balls on you. Look at the balls on you. Balls. I bet he said balls like 15 times. Look at the balls on you. He goes, I would have called me. I would have absolutely called me. I'm fantastic. I would have called me, right? That's what he says. I said, great. That's great. So can I get the money? He goes, unfortunately, I can't give you the money because blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So I didn't get the money from him. But when it got down to the final who's going to win the show, he looked at me and he said, and the winner of Celebrity Apprentice is John Rich. And he gave it to me. And it was a huge moment for St. Jude. It put us at $1.4 million. And the folks at St. Jude said that their online donations surged by $40 million. That's
amazing.
So listen, Jody, the lesson is, if you know you're supposed to go somewhere and do something, but you have no idea how to do it or how to get there, it doesn't mean that you don't do it. You still go do it, and you just know I'm probably going to screw it up a few times, but I'm going to chase it down, right? I'm going to go get it. You guys are a good example of that. You love to play golf. You know, there's a lot of people around the country, great amateurs that want to play golf. You're providing something to them that they didn't have prior to you guys providing that. It's brilliant. It's a great thing for everybody involved, and it's going to be awesome when everybody comes to Nashville. I hope I get to shake a few hands when you guys come, and thank you guys for having me on tonight.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for coming, and we definitely plan on patronizing John Rich's Redneck Riviera Bar during the week. So Hopefully we'll be able to run into you and get you to maybe sing a song or two for everybody.
Hey, don't threaten me with a good time, by God. I'll tell you that.
Beer's on me.
God bless you, Jody.
All right. See you, John. Thanks a lot.
See you, brother.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I'm firing myself, Jody. I'm done.
I was waiting to see if you fell asleep back there.
No, I'm dying laughing. I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen a Trump imitation that good.
It was absolute. Hey, I know he's been asked that question 1,000 times since being on the show. Certainly since Mr. Trump won the election and served as president, and all the craziness that has ensued since. So he has honed that impersonation over the years and gotten it absolutely down to an art at this point. So I always like asking him that question, or seeing people ask him that question, because I've heard the story about calling Mr. Trump several times. I definitely wanted to make sure he told that story tonight.
Yeah, no, it was good. I think it was, man, what a great, icon for Nashville and role model for Nashville. I can't wait to be there, experience the weekend. I know we've got tons of events, way more stuff than we can talk about in the hour we've got left. We got 12 minutes left tonight. Chris is told we went over last week, so we've got to stop at 9. So we got 12 minutes to talk about golf.
All right.
Let's just get right into it. Everybody wants to know the golf courses. Obviously, you can probably anticipate there's going to be an event at Redneck Riviera. Cannot wait to support all those guys, and I love his heart for veterans. In our country, and so many veterans that we have that are playing on our tour, being able to honor them. And we'll have more coming out about that in the coming weeks. We're excited to reveal, but it's your hometown. We got 11 minutes left. You got 5 golf courses to reveal, not revere, Hendra and Craig, sorry. But go for it, Jody.
All right. So the $64 million question everybody has been asking is, what is the course rotation? What courses are we going to be playing? So there are 5 courses that we have lined up for this event, and I'm going to start right here in Dixon with Greystone Golf Club is going to be part of the rotation. It's my home golf course. It's near and dear to my heart, but it also is one of the best, if not the best, public course in all of Nashville. You've got a 1998, actually opened in 99, Mark McCumber design golf course, Zoysia fairways, Crenshaw bent greens, just a really great layout, kind of a link style in probably for 17, 16 of the holes, with a few holes that go in through the trees and whatnot. But the place has got a storied history, hosted probably, half a dozen or more state opens, hosted the men's and women's state opens together like 6 years in a row. It's been a Monday qualifier site for both the Korn Ferry Tour event that we have here currently, but also the Bell South Senior Classic.
Hey, Jody.
Yes,
Don't forget about the most important tournament it hosted, the 2019 G-Rock Open.
Yeah, man, the G-Rock.
The first tournament we ever ran together.
It was the first tournament that you and I ran together on Blue Golf. So that was my baptism of fire with Blue Golf, which was great. And, hey, that was a Pro-Am event with 25 or 6 professionals from Korn Ferry, Dawson Armstrong, all the way down to local club pros that played in that thing. Essentially, that was the COVID year that the State Open was supposed to be hosted here at Greystone, and due to COVID, the State Golf Association canceled it, and so Bob Walcott and Charlie Blunt and the guys at Greystone stepped in and said they wanted to have an event for all these guys. And man, they put together an amazing field, brought in multiple players from every single SEC college team, D1 players, high-ranked junior golfers. I mean, it was incredible. And I just remember you and I going out trying to set pins on that thing to make it as difficult as we could. And they still they're so good, man. They just tore that place up. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really good. One of my favorite tournament golf courses. It's a golf course that won't beat you up too bad. You can certainly score on if you hit your ball well, and you can get around that place. But it's a really good fair test of golf. It'll be a great start to our championship rotation. So I guess leading you into the next one, Jody. We talked about the Grand Ole Opry, and so why don't you talk about the second course on our rotation?
Yeah, so the Grand Ole Opry, the modern Opry, is on the site of the old Opryland theme park that John mentioned, where he got his start in music, which is now part of the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. And so Gaylord Springs is the golf course that's just right across the main highway and sits right up against the Cumberland River, that is owned and operated by Gaylord. And Gaylord was a 1990 construction. Is designed by three-time major winner Larry Nelson, who's also was the architect for Wild Wing, the Avocet course. So our friends down in Myrtle are going to recognize some of his work. Another Zoysia fairway golf course. They used to have bent grass greens, and a few years ago they switched over, and I think they're Mini Verde Bermuda now, and some of the best greens in all of Nashville now. Really cool layout. It sits down in this bottom, so when you drive through the entrance, you drop down off this cliff down into this river bottom, and you can see the whole golf course. Really, really cool. A lot of water there. That one's going to be a test for people. You're going to have to keep control your golf ball in order to score well there. And probably would recommend playing a practice round there for sure if it's on your course rotation for your division, because those greens are tricky. You're going to need to go out there and play that one once or twice to see what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. Third course of the rotation wouldn't be a North American Championship if we didn't have a private club, right?
Well, absolutely not. We've the one thing that Nashville does have a good plethora of is that is high end, really good golf at the private level, and this is no different. So if anybody that's familiar with geography around Nashville, most of what we're doing here is sticking on the north side of town. So everything will be pretty close, with the exception of Greystone. That'll be sit out to the west a little drive. So Tennessee Grasslands is a private club that has two golf courses that sit on either side of Old Hickory Lake. And we're going to be playing the Foxland Links course. It used to be called Foxland Plantation or Foxland Harbor for those of us that are from Nashville, my local guys. Really cool property. Again, Bill Bergen design. So if you've heard of Macklemore or seen some pictures of that 18th hole there on the cliff at Macklemore, that's the guy who designed and built Foxland from the beginning. 2007 golf course. Again, another Zoysia fairway. You're sensing a trend here. Zoysia fairway, A1 bent greens, some of the best greens in all of Nashville. Again, another one that play a practice round here if you can. I've had the pleasure of probably playing a dozen to 12 to 15 times there at Foxland, and man, it's always a pleasure to play. Big greens with a lot of movement in them. So one of those places that you want to go putt on those greens if you can ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is really good. We moved the North American Championship. Last year Pinehurst. A lot of the Midwest guys that can't chip off of tight Bermuda and struggle in dealing with that, or fat wedges on Bermuda fairways because they're not used to it. Home in the Zoysia lies. You'll be comfortable. Definitely going to be different for the Southeast guys coming north, but great playing surfaces. I think it's important to note that, October, the second week of October where we are, average temperature in Nashville is 72 degrees. The weather is usually perfect, so we're expecting really good weather, really good course conditions. And so with that being said, Jody, You got 2 more courses left. Why don't you go ahead and introduce the final 2 courses of our rotation?
Yeah, so again, probably the most notable public facility in Nashville, Hermitage Golf Course. It's a 36-hole facility with 118 that was built in 1986. The original 18 holes there that is now known as General's Retreat. And that golf course hosted the LPGA Sara Lee Classic for, I think, something like 8 or 9 years. It's a Roger Bear design. Another original course that people may know from Baird is Barona Creek in California. It's all Bermuda, so it's going to be the one outlier here with the Zoysia, and it's a tree line course, so it's going to be one of those old school keep it in the corridors. And if you do that, you can really score there. I've had the fortune of winning there twice, I believe, at General's Retreat. Just a really solid, challenging golf course that's fair. Again, keep it in play off the tee, and you should be able to score really well there. And then the companion course is President's Reserve. That's a 2000 design, so relatively recent compared to its counterpart, and a totally different layout and design. President's Reserve was designed by Dennis Griffiths, who also built Chateau Elan in North Georgia. Again, we're back to the Zoysia fairways there. They started out with bent grass greens, but being a public course, it gets so much play. They ended up switching over to Bermuda. I think it's Tiff Eagle Bermuda at President's Reserve. And again, both courses switched over to those Tiff Eagle greens probably 3 or 4 years ago. Man, they're so good. The greens are so good now. And President's Reserve, it's built on like 300 acres of like a nature reserve and wetlands area. So it's totally different. It's more of a kind of a linksy feel, more open, less of a tree line situation, but more about the staying out of the water hazards and that sort of thing. It's funny, we're going to Talamore this weekend with the llamas. The big thing with Hermitage, they've got blackface sheep on the property. So one of their things they've got in the pro shop now is they sell all sorts of stuff that says sheep happens. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time in Nashville, as you guys can see tonight from talking with John. Everything around the golf is going to be fantastic, and so prepare for some events, some live music events, some dinners. So it's going to be a great time to get people together. Like we said, the price point we can talk about. We don't have everything posted on the APT app yet. Give us a little bit of time. We're working on all that stuff. The retail cost of it is going to be $599. There is no rooming requirement, and so you can save a ton of money on lodging if you want to go VRBO, if you want to go Airbnb. If you want to do a little bit more expensive on your lodging, you can stay downtown in Nashville. There's a ton of hotels. We'll be working on some partner hotels as options for you guys, but once again, no rooming requirements. We'll be back next week to talk more about Nashville. We've got more things to talk about with it, but you've got the 5 courses: Greystone, Gaylord Springs, Tennessee Grasslands, and both courses at Hermitage. And so October 10th through 12th in Nashville. Stay tuned for more information next week.
That's right. And thanks again to
You can play in any chapter that you want. So you get to meet people from anywhere.